The second President of the United States, John Adams, is considered one of the founding fathers of America, instrumental in winning support for the American Revolution and in formulating the Declaration of Independence. After the Revolutionary War, Adams wrote a number of essays that were highly influential in shaping the style and substance of the fledgling American government. These writings, as well as his overall contribution to the country, have received renewed attention in recent years as critics reassess Adams' place among the pantheon of great early Americans. Adams was born in Braintree, now known as Quincy, Massachusetts, on October 30, 1735, the eldest son of a New England farming family whose paternal ancestors had immigrated from England in the 1630s. His parents were John Adams, a church deacon, and Susan Boylston, a member of a prominent Massachusetts family. Young Adams graduated from Harvard College in 1755 and had originally planned on becoming a minister but decided to study law instead. He was admitted to the Boston Bar in 1758 and began practicing law and involving himself in town affairs. He married Abigail Smith, the daughter of a clergyman, in 1764. The couple had 4 children: Abby, John Quincy, Charles, and Thomas. The passage of the Stamp Act in 1765 provoked a response from Adams in the form of a series of articles opposing British policy in the American colonies. Written originally for the Boston Gazette, these articles were published in England as a dissertation on the canon and federal law. During the 1760s, Adams continued to produce political essays and to build his law practice, and in 1770, he made the unpopular decision to defend the British soldiers involved in the Boston Massacre. For Adams, it was a matter of principle that all men were entitled to a fair trial and legal representation. He won the case and appeared to suffer no long-term consequences. He was, in fact, elected to the Massachusetts legislature shortly thereafter. In 1774, Adams was chosen as a delegate to the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia, where he was an early supporter of the independence movement. When the war broke out a year later, Adams backed George Washington as a leader of the Continental Army and served on the committee charged with drafting the Declaration of Independence. Adams traveled to Europe to promote the cause of the Revolution on the diplomatic front and participated in the peace talks after the war. From 1785 to 1788, he served as America's first minister to Great Britain, and from 1789 to 1797 served as George Washington's vice president. In 1796, Adams was elected to the presidency after a bitter campaign in which the Federalist faction led by Alexander Hamilton and the Republican faction led by Thomas Jefferson competed to determine the type of government the new country would embrace. Adams was a moderate Federalist, and although he and Jefferson never engaged directly in the dispute, the rancor the development between them endured until 1813 when they broke their long, bitter silence and begun on an extensive correspondence. The Adams administration was severely criticized, particularly by Jefferson, for the passage of the Alien and Sedition Act of 1798 restricting individual liberties. In 1800, Adams lost his bid for re-election to Jefferson and retired to his farm in Quincy, where he spent his days working on the farm and writing. He and Jefferson died within hours of each other on July 4, 1826, exactly 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. What were John Adams' major contributions in forming the American government? Adams was on the committee that drafted the Declaration of Independence. He was also a member of both the First and Second Continental Congress. One of the first leaders to suggest independence, nominated Washington to be commander-in-chief. After the Revolution, Adams served as a diplomat to France to keep America out of war with them, thus allowing the formation of the American government by the other founding fathers without concern of interference or threats from external forces. What were some of the most interesting things that stood out to me in my research? The fact that Adams defended British soldiers in the Boston Massacre trial. In 1770, Adams defended British soldiers accused of killing 5 colonists, which is now known as the Boston Massacre. Even though he disagreed with British policies, he wanted to ensure that British soldiers got a fair trial.